This is Mike and C, and this is another episode of You Can't Handle the Truth. So what are we going to talk about with our viewers today?
Well, we're going to get a little bit more personal today. I think, it's time that we open up and let everybody see, like, the human side of us.
Yeah, we are humans.
Yeah, attorneys are humans.
Right.
And so how has being a parent made you? We both have kids.
Right.
We both have one child.
One child.
Yeah.
I have a boy, you have a girl.
Yeah. So how has being a parent made you a better lawyer?
How's being a parent made me a better lawyer? I mean, being a parent is challenging that's the cliche, right? That's the easy thing to say, but
no one prepares you.
Yeah.
How challenging it is.
I mean, I'm telling you, if anything, it definitely makes you set, your day, makes you plan it out better. You have to, obviously you have to take your kid to school. Those are the obvious things, right? But I mean, from a spiritual aspect, you start realizing that you got to leave some type of, legacy. You don't have to, but it's probably a good idea, right? So when you're not around, your kid's going to be like, well, this is what my dad did. And so sometimes people's impressions of what a lawyer are could be, very polarizing, to say the very least. So, what I try to do is be myself, but also, I try to get involved with, since I've, been a parent, and this ties into the legal profession, is just get involved with organizations. I mean, there's an organization that I set up at a school called All Pro Dads. I mean, it might even sound a little cheesy on the outside, but it's a good program because it gets me to be there at 7:30 at least once a month to basically sit down with my kid and have breakfast and go over topics. But, a lot of times he'll ask me, what do you do? What do you do for a living? How do you do this? And he sees me on the phone calls. And, I'm more conscious of setting an example for my kid. And that translates to my professional career because I think about, hey, what am I really trying to accomplish here? Am I trying to accomplish something for myself, or am I really just trying to help out my clients and set a good example of what a good lawyer and a good dad should be? So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does answer. You're just saying in general, like, I think being a parent makes you better in all aspects.
It does. It centers you.
Yeah. So I have some actually really specific examples because right now I have a 3.5-year-old who's going on 13.
But
and both of her parents are attorneys. So she sees, so attorneys sometimes with adversarial positions like PI attorneys. My husband's a insurance. Yeah, my husband's an insurance defense attorney. So we're on different sides of the aisle. So our communication sometimes looks like argument, but we're just communicating.
It's just communication.
So my
wife can't figure that.
Negotiating and stuff. So my 3-year-old actually has made me a better negotiator and has taught me skills for taking depositions. And okay, so funny story. So a couple months ago, she started this, when they're that age, they're learning new concepts, doing new things. They get into these phases of ththings. So what she did was start asking us questions and then afterwards following up with yes or no. That's all she wants to know. So is mom at home? She'll ask, her dad will pick her up. Is mommy at home? Yes or no?
She wants to box in.
Little quick box in. And so my husband and I were having we're talking about that. And we're like, this is how we should depose people. Are we deposing people that way? And
box in that question.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is absolutely clearly obvious that this is how we should be taking depositions. Did I miss something? And honestly, now the funniest part is when I'm working from home, me and my husband have one wall that's between us. He's in the garage we built out for his office because he's fully remote, and then I'm in our little nook in the living room, and so I can't hear what's happening on the other side, but I can hear my husband getting louder and louder because someone's not answering his questions in the deposition. And then I'll hear, Mr. So-and-so did, blah, 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 yes or no.
Right.
And I just die on the other side because that's all I can hear, but I can hear my toddler say it.
They're like sponges.
I can hear my toddler say it. So it's just so funny. And so that is how I'll be deposing people for the majority of the time that I'm an attorney. And then also everything's a negotiation. So we're always negotiating with our 3.5-year-old, and she wins every time. So it's made me ask better questions too, because when they're learning how to communicate, they take things very serious. You have to ask them the right question to get an answer, and they take things really specifically. So there, she'll ask something, we'll ask something of her, but if it's not specific enough, then she won't know how to answer it. So it's really helped me kind of hone in on asking really specific questions. So really, like, my toddler has taught me more about depositions than I've ever been taught in the last 8 years of practice.
Yeah, those are great concrete examples.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's
That's going to have a big effect on you either way.
Yeah,
From
it's
a
fun.
general standpoint, or even specific examples of when you're practicing law.
Yep, absolutely.
Great experience, right?
Absolutely. So it's on top of it is hard too. Like, and I think one of the things is just making sure that you're getting that work-life balance as well. And luckily, and what we do, and the fact that we're not in a, yes, it's a demanding field, but we get a lot of work-life balance here at the firm. So
yeah, it's made me so much more organized because I know I got to do this. I don't have time to dawdle. When you're doing that, when you're structured like that, it opens the door for you to do things with them. And I know that sounds so crazy where you got to do things with your kid, but yeah, if you have a busy life, which I think you and I both do, and everybody's going to be out there, well, yeah, we have a busy life. You want to make time for your kid, and I think that's what it does. You're so structured, you have to do this and that by a certain amount of time, but it allows me to go to these events, like the All Pro Dad event I told you about earlier. That's it's once a month, but it also takes, there's a time commitment that I have to give before that. And it allows me to make time for my kid. So it actually makes me a better parent in that regard. Anything he does extracurricular wise, we have to be able to make time for that. And a lot of parents they struggle with that.
It is
time management.
It is hard. And you don't actually, if you think about it and break it down, you don't get a lot of time with your kid during the week.
Right.
They're mostly at school because you're at work, they're at school.
Right.
And, they get maybe, depending on your morning structure, 30 minutes and I, let that linger on a bit. I'm happy to let it linger on a bit right now because I have the, I'm blessed with the opportunity to do that. So I let her kind of milk her time at home before I get her to preschool. But ultimately, you only have a couple hours with them each day, and so
that's it.
And what's really interesting, because we'll see, we want to start getting our toddler involved in sports and different things and do some activities, kind of just to, sometimes, just so ultimately, but we've realized that she doesn't even really like to do that during the week because it takes away time from us because she only gets so much of it. So it's hard to balance being a parent, being a working parent, in general. So anyway, I think that my toddler makes me a better lawyer just because she is in that phase where she's inquisitive. And a funny story about the yes or no questions, because ultimately my husband, I asked him, I was like, should we already know this? Were we not doing this before? And he's like, no, when I would follow up, I would just ask if my question was correct, to be like, ask your question and be like, correct, am I right? Like, am I making sense? But now you can corner the deponent into a yes or no answer, right? Because that's what you're directly asking. Right. So it's just something that, I don't know, you just, you never really think about until and a 3-year-old taught me how to, take better depositions.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so if you like this content, if you want to hear more about our personal lives, how, what we do outside of work makes us better attorneys, or makes us who we are as attorneys, comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.